Welcome to the Point of No Return podcast, a show at the intersection of technology and strategy. On this show, we interview industry leaders and experts to better understand how they think about strategy during this time of exponential progress.
Everyone, welcome to the Point of No Return podcast. It looks like we're officially in winter, so I'm happy to be back with a very interesting episode this week. I spoke with David Marotte, President and CEO of FX Innovation. I've been trying to get David on the podcast for a little while, so I'm really happy he took the time. If you ever heard of FX Innovation, they're a 600 plus person company in the IT space that is really kicking butt right now. They recently raised a round from Caisse de Dépôt for over $10 million in the spring, and have really embarked on this journey of growth. And you seem to think that it's like one of those overnight successes for FX, but it's actually 16, 17 years in the making now. So we dove into the founding story of FX, how David and his co-founder started literally from the garage, and some of those early days where they struggled. So I found some of the insights he provided on what it means to start a company to be really revealing. He also has this unique view about culture, and they've created, and I invite you to check it out. I've linked to it in the show notes as well. They've created a culture handbook which explains what FX is and the culture that they've built. And walking around, he gave me the tour of the office, and walking around, you really feel it's something tangible. It's not this fluff document. You could really see how the document came from reality and not the other way around. Like I said, they've been around for a while now. They've been able to gain a lot of traction in the IT space. So we spoke a lot about technology. We spoke about some of the interesting trends that David is keeping his eye on. Obviously things like machine learning, AI, but some of these things that are also maybe misunderstood in that sector. Of course, we talked about cloud and security as two massive topics, of course, for IT, but also interestingly about how he thinks about strategy, how also he thinks about customer experience, which I found to be very interesting as well. He spends over, I think, 15 meetings a week just sitting down with customers, sitting down with partners, and trying to get bottoms-up feedback, which is, I think, very interesting approach in terms of how he spends his time. David's really built a remarkable organization. You can see that he thinks deeply about the important strategic issues like culture and strategy. Thank you, David. It's good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for giving me the tour of the office. First time I visit FX, so it's really cool to see what you guys have built here. So yeah, thanks for taking the time, man.
Yeah, thanks. You're welcome.
Maybe an easy question to start. Just curious as to how you got interested in technology. Were you one of those kids like early on, you're like, playing with computers as a teenager, or did it happen later in life?
No, my dad had an IT business for 30 years. So when I was a student, I used to be a Kix operator. And then I learned IT, but my aha moment in IT is that I used to work in the finance industry because I have a finance background, and one of my bosses told me, Dave, the important thing in life is to choose an industry that you're passionate about. And so I said, what industry am I passionate at? So I tried aerospace because I love planes, and then I enjoyed that, but it was too big of an organization for me. So, and then I love the fact that IT, you can do anything you want with IT, the creative part of IT, but I've never coded in my life. So I just love what IT can do for businesses. So that's how I got in IT, and I just love this industry.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I like how you've also took it from your dad's company to like kind of transform it to something what it is today. What is it specifically about? You mentioned this notion of transformation for businesses, right? Like, what is that insight that's kept you interested for now 16, 17 plus years? Yeah,
the great thing about IT is clients are always investing, but the challenge of IT is it's ever changing, right? And right now we're in a digital transformation phase where clients are rethinking their business model, to target new generations of people that use technology as part of the extension of their bodies or extension of the lifestyle and everything. And you have to see, how does my lifestyle adapt or how does my business model, adapt to how my buyers or my customers are evolving. So, you look at companies like Franken that I love their business model, have a bit transformed the traditional, clothing business. I love how different industries fintechs are moving up. So I love to study business models. And I think IT is a great way to make your business model international and very accessible to different type of customers. So whereas when you were a brick and mortar company, it's a lot tougher to go to Asia, to go to Africa, and go to France. So I'm really excited about what technology can do to your business model.
Yeah, it's interesting. So as we move from the industrial age to the knowledge age, everyone is going to need technology support. So, as like you said, there's kind of no borders. Before talking about the tech sector, I'd like to talk about your background as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Was it always? Did you always want not to have a boss and like start your own thing, or did you just fall in love with the idea?
No, I think I was a person that always loved projects, doing things. And when I was a teenager, I used to throw parties, and try to get people make money out of that.
Okay, so hold up. So give me an example. Yeah, I need to hear one story of one party.
Yeah, so we, I don't know if you remember, so one time we rented Caesars close to Concordia University, and I'm talking about a while ago.
Oh man, yeah, okay.
So we organized, got a band in there, and charged $15 a ticket, and you had free alcohol, and we made, we were 3 guys, and we made probably $1,000. But for us, $1,000, man, it was amazing at the time. We were 16 or 17 or 18, I can't remember. And so I love starting stuff, and I'm a creative person. I think I love transforming things and see the opportunities. So I think I had qualities of an entrepreneur, but having worked for large organizations, I kind of got fed up with certain negative aspects, because there's great aspects of large organizations, but politics, ego, and things like that. So one of my motivators to building my business is creating my environment that I would feel good working. So and how we design your office, some like it, some don't, but I love it. So it's the liberty, I think, that comes with being an entrepreneur that I love.
Yeah. You didn't want to inherit bureaucratic processes, culture, design. You wanted to build these things for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
So it'd be maybe a great segue to talk about the founding of FX. And take us back to 2002. From what I understand, it was in the proverbial garage.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear about the founding story.
So on the South Shore, Saint-Marc-sur-Richelieu, we did a couple of business plans to build a business. We were working for a public traded company at the time, and we just thought that all decisions at the time were made for the stockholders, forgot the employees and the clients. And there's a bit of naivete in there, but we said, yeah, we can do this. So we did a couple of business plans, and we found a client that was willing to give us a first chance to migrate his network from Token Ring to Ethernet for people that know what Token Ring is. And so we started off in a garage, and the first year was tough. It's the post Y2K context where everybody was hungry for business, and then starting your business, and you call a client, and basically George and I were doing 8 or 9 hours of cold calling per day for 6 months, and we didn't have any salary. So we jumped the ship and financed our startup without any salaries, and then you had to sell to pay your mortgage. So it's a great motivator, because every night you get back home and your girlfriend's going, "Are we okay for the mortgage?" So basically we're doing. And at the beginning, we had 1 client meeting per week, and after that 3, then 5, and then after 5, you close 1 deal, and then so it's a game of numbers. So it was a tough time. I wouldn't have that same courage to go through that. But so it's been a story, and then a couple of clients trusted us, a couple of employees trusted us at the beginning, and I think there's a bit of luck in there also.
Yeah, which I want to go back to that period where you guys are cold calling people 8 or 9 hours a day, nothing's working for those first few months. How did you push through? Was there any moments of doubt where you're like, I'm not getting paid, and why am I doing this? And
I was a lot younger then. I was very ambitious and stubborn at the time, and so for us, we just kept on going. And when we started, everybody said, "Oh, we're going to help you out." But at the end, you really have to grind it out. And if I would have started alone, Nectar, it would have been a lot harder. But I had partners to help each other motivate. If you have a bad day or anything, if you get 100 refusal in a day for a meeting, you need good colleagues to make that. So, but I think today, for my partners and I, it's always. It's always a mindset to remember where we start from. Be humble that every client we win, you have to treat with the utmost respect because it's hard to gain a client. And every employee that trusts you, you have to be very humble and have a lot of gratitude for them to trust you and choose FX compared to IBM, CGI, or the other guys.
What do you think are some of the underlying traits? And I'm guessing some are deliberate and maybe some have been more opportunistic. But for instance, you speak about the focus of customer experience, right? Yeah. So being able to delight and retain customers. So that to me sounds like a deliberate way of trying to grow and retain business. So I'd like to hear what are the pillars that you think you concentrate on that have helped you grow throughout the years?
Yeah, I think when clients trust you when you're small, they want you to be extremely honest on where are the risks and what's your talent and all that. And I feel today that clients, if you don't have experience in certain technology, but you have a mitigation plan, they'd rather hear that than hear, "Oh yeah, don't worry, Mr. Client, I got everything under control." So I think always remember that when you invest in a relationship with a client, it's a long term. Don't make short-term benefits that will hurt you in the long term, what I call internally bad profit. And so I think the fact that it was so tough getting a client then, Nectar, that today we take care of them. If there's an issue, we as founding partners make sure that we step in, and see what's going on. And we educate. We've talked about our culture book, but our culture book is one of our way, and our management book is one of our way to educate all the employees that we hire that you have to take care of our clients. We have certain things that never refer to the contract when you're discussing. Always trying to find a solution if there's an issue, and always keep the client satisfaction in mind.
Yeah, I like that no BS approach, right? So you're not going to try and oversell or overstep your own capabilities. So you have to be. That's how you build trust, exactly. By being authentic with what you're doing. And you spoke about employees, and I want to go back to this point because I read the culture book you guys put on the site, and I find it a great initiative to promote your values. Yeah. So how did you think about putting this, exposing it online, and what's been the benefit?
Well, I always talked about culture. First thing, there's, like I told you, I want to create my environment, and I want to be happy at work. So the first part is getting to know myself and what do I need to be happy, and then study human psychology to see what makes employee perform and what makes client choose us, and what are the criteria. So we came up and the employee says, "Dave, can you explain the culture?" And I was trying to explain my words. So we spent time, Mel, my head of HR, and I, to define it in a culture book. And then make sure I pick George's brain, Guillaume's brain on, does that really reflect the culture? And so today for us, we spend a lot of time talking about culture. And in their culture book, there's do's and don'ts. And then that's how we evaluate people. That's how we develop people. And then in our management book, it's very clear what do we expect out of our managers for all our employees to make sure they live the FX culture. But the challenge is when you're growing at a 38% compound growth rate per year, it's tough to maintain that. It's a continuous battle.
Yeah. And I noticed some of the key aspects of the culture handbook is how you promote transparency, how you promote having fun, but working hard. How have you been able to maintain some of those elements despite the rapid growth, right? Because as you said, now I'm sure you're not able to say everyone's name anymore, right? So you have this multiple layers of disconnection between the founding partners and the new employees coming in. So how do you expose the culture to the new people that arrive?
Yeah, so we have a dual challenge where I can tell you that in our office right now, we're about 270, and I pretty much know everybody's name. Then we have great people that are mostly client sites, and that's a bigger challenge. So for all of permanent employees now, I have a breakfast with all the new employees every week, or every 2 weeks, in small groups of 5 to 10. And I talk about culture, and I talk about our history, where the name comes from, what's the essence of our organization, and I get their buy-in for them to get involved in the culture. So a lot of organizations, they think culture is the president, it's HR, but we're a community here, and for us, we all have to chip in, like you have to chip in a relationship to make sure we protect our culture together. So I get their buy-in on, are you investing in the culture? Do you feel that you're aligned with their values and all that? So I have that meeting when they come in, and I think that has an impact. And then we monitor through surveys and all that. How's the culture within the organization? So that's one of the ways that we do that. And we do town halls every quarter, and we talk about this stuff, and we're very transparent on what's going well, what's not. And last, what we started doing about 6 months ago is our first pending subcontracts we win with clients, where I sit down with the CIO or the equivalent of the clients, and we negotiate what are the joint values we want to have in a relationship. And we're one of the only firm that does that in Montreal, because in IT, the problems are rarely technological. It's humans working together. That's the challenge.
Yeah, there's just some pretty good insights. For me, the best definition I've heard of culture is what people are saying around the water cooler when there's no manager around, right? Like when people are talking to each other. Yeah. So I like how you try and expose and embed that type of thinking. And I kind of see it on my end too. It's like everyone thinks the technology part is hard, but it ends up being the people problem. On another topic, I'd like to pick your brain on how you think about strategy, being the person that kind of crafts it for your firm. I'd love to understand, what are your current priorities? How do you think about strategy for FX?
Yeah. So we have, so my strategy, I really try to stay connected, first of all, to how my markets, how my clients see their business evolve. Because IT is only a way to improve efficiency for processes or products that my clients currently do. So I spend 15 meetings a week to stay connected on the market. With what I like to call my molecule is basically my network. So I do a lot of surveying, talk to my clients. What do you think about this acquisition? What do you think about this new offering? How does your business grow? What are your objectives? Who accept that FX is your favorite vendor, and why? And how would you like so? So I try to stay connected, and every new idea I validate it with the same 5 or 10 CIOs every time I have an idea. So for me, I think it's important to generate ideas from the inside, but it's important to
filter them.
Yeah, filter them. We also are connected with large databases like Gartner, Forrester, Infotech. So we use different methods to get insight to prepare a strategic plan. To your second question, what are my I have 5 priorities for a new 3-year plan. The main one is focused on building our business outside Quebec. Right now, 88% of our revenues are from Quebec. We're also doing some business in France, Boston, and Ontario. So we have an organic and M&A strategy to grow Canada first, nationwide, and Northeast United States.
Yeah. And is it in line with the recent investment? You guys announced an investment from Caisse de dépôt. Obviously, great success, so congrats on that. Is that part, in part, does it fit in with the 5-pronged strategy you mentioned?
Yeah, and for that, we always funded our R&D and all that from our profit. Okay, so we reached a point where I said, I think we need an external partner that will help us strategically, because we were in need of money. But I think there was 2 topics there. We needed an organization that could help us mature, be a bit more rigorous in our different processes, and give us credibility. Because we reach a point where, humbly, we have offerings that go up to clients' boards, and where when they bring offers, or RFP response from FX and compare them to CGI and IBM, the board usually, who the hell is FX? Is it financially viable for the long haul? So by having a strong organization like as the depot come in, I think it's going to help us have flexibility to do acquisitions. It's going to give us flexibility and credibility to decision makers that we're a solid long-term alternative for their different needs. And so I'm really happy with that. I spent a lot of time choosing my partner, making sure we have a culture fit. They understand what type of beast we are, and we're trying to do things different. So I'm really happy with that, and they're going to help us through M&A. With them, we look. There's a big appetite now. We look at different deals. There's great opportunities. They bring me a lot of insights on how to do deals that are beneficial for the seller, but also mitigate risk for us. So
No, it's pretty exciting, and it also helps you build your brand, I imagine, right? Like you said, how do you compete against the IBMs and CGIs of this world is by having a bigger brand. So I'd like to understand how you think about competitive advantage, considering you're mostly a services business, right? So it's, I guess it could be harder to build a real competitive advantage. So I'm curious as to how you approach that.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. So how we see it internally, we have a consulting business, which is very focused on talent and expertise, specialized expertise. But in our solutions business, in our service now, we pre-built a multi-client ServiceNow platform that a typical project would have taken 9 to 12 months, and upgrades would have been very tough. Since for us it's pre-built, it's a 1 to 3 month project, and all my clients have the same foundation of the ServiceNow, which makes when we do an upgrade, we do it once for all our clients. It's a managed platform, so we've grown 150% pace. So we have our own IP on top of ServiceNow, which gives us a great competitive advantage. And it's the same topic on the cloud. On the cloud, we've built IP and automation on top of Azure, AWS, and that enables us to automate rapidly different stacks, manage security as code. That gives a client, a stronger framework when they manage cloud.
Yeah. So time to deliver your implementation time is greatly reduced.
Yeah, and the risk, because cloud is a different culture. It's a different beast. You have to be efficient, and so we do the advisory services, then we do the migration, the automation, we do development, and then we do the managed service aspect. But and the fact that we see multiple platforms, we do a lot of automation, and we link it with a platform like ServiceNow. It makes us a very unique player in the market.
Interesting. I'd love to maybe dive into your thoughts on where the industry is headed. Yeah. You mentioned some of these big platforms. I'd be curious to just know at a high level what technologies you're most keen about, most excited about that are coming up.
I'm very careful not to get into too keen on a technology or not. I'm more excited on what a set of technologies can do. So I thought first, we're in a resource shortage, internationally in IT. So that's one thing. And since we're growing at a 38+%, and the market resource shortage is increasing, and if you look at emerging technologies like cloud, AI, machine learning, data science, it's even worse. I think all technologies can enable you to automate, deploy a lot faster, are very exciting. For me, we're heavily looking into AI and machine learning to see all the tasks that we do that are typically done by a human being that can be automated, and certain basic decisions can be made. For example, I have this incident. In the past, we've implemented these patterns that have worked. So if a computer can make that decision, I think there's a great opportunity for everybody in that. But it's still emerging technologies. But we strongly believe in automation in different technologies that can enable us. We're also very interested in how can we keep up in cybersecurity. We have a strong team of cybersecurity, but now the bots are getting better, are getting tougher to beat. They're coming from everywhere. So how can you still be very efficient in that? So we're looking on technologies that would enable us in these spaces. So I would go with AI, machine learning, automation, and all technologies can enable us to be better in cybersecurity.
Interesting, yeah. You mentioned the challenge of cybersecurity. I imagine part of the answer is going to be machine learning as well, right? To counteract it. Just to dive into the machine learning aspect, what aspect of the stack are you guys looking at more in the data preparation side? Like, how do we help a client ensure that their data is well structured so it could be ready to be analyzed? Or is it more in the data transformation space, let's say post preparation? Like, curious as to where you want to play in the stack.
So right now, our play for these technologies is enhance our own services, our ServiceNow services, our cloud services, and our managed services. So we're not in a space where if a client says, "Hey, Dave, can you come and implement machine learning?" We're not there. So we're trying to enhance our services. So our first challenge is you cannot do machine learning and AI if you're not semi-structured in the data space. So we're really working on structuring the data, so we can put algorithms to analyze and make decisions. But we're really focused on structuring the data and making sure that we're learning from the data, the patterns, creating patterns, so eventually we'll be able to make decisions.
Yeah, that's great. That's super interesting. I'd like to maybe the reverse side is, what aspect do you think of your industry is most widely understood? So maybe is it either something that's misunderstood or something that's gaining too much attention and shouldn't have? So curious to see any contrarian beliefs you have about your sector.
That's a good question. I'm trying to find the appropriate answer. I think there's people that are thinking that all our clients are going to go 100% in the cloud, and I think that's not going to happen. I think there's business cases for cloud. There's business cases that cloud doesn't.
Which is Microsoft's bet, right? Like they're betting on the hybrid on-prem and cloud, right? Like that they're really betting on. Large enterprise is not going to want to have everything in the cloud for ABCZ reasons.
Yeah.
So how did you do both? How do you do that well? How do you bring in multiple cloud partners? I imagine also the fear of vendor lock-in, right? Like every big cloud partner is going to want to have, why don't you just stay on the Azure stack and it'll be super easy. But as a client, as an organization, like, do I really want to sell everything to just one of these big tech companies? I'm not so sure. So and that's one of the decisions why we have multiple partners is we all think these partners are amazing, but our clients are very concerned maybe of vendor lock-in. And because the challenge is not always, I beg your pardon, to get in, but what happens if you want to get out? So that's one thing that I think it's very important to look in. I think today a lot of people are talking about AI, and I think it's really awesome. But I see a lot of people
slamming on their website saying, we're an AI company, and you're just like, I think we're overutilizing that, and it's confusing people. But I think the potential's there. But if you don't have structured data and you don't have a repetitive tasks that you can make decisions on, I think AI is sometimes overutilized. So
I completely agree. I find it's overhyped. Like you said, macro is great. Like it's growing, and it's great for Canada in particular.
Yeah.
But when you look at certain instances, it's like, okay, well, what exactly we're talking about? Like there's the deeper technologies that are interesting. The great joke I heard is, how do you distinguish between machine learning and AI? If it's written in Python, it's probably machine learning. If it's written in PowerPoint, it's probably AI.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I love that.
People overbelieve what it can do in the short term versus where it's going. So I love kind of your approach on how you're thinking about it. Like, no, it's the data that counts, right? And that's going to be the kind of foundation of it.
And I totally agree with you. And we always have to come back when there's hype on technology. Always have to remember, we're only there to automate business and a business process, right? So is it selling, hiring, purchasing, and so I'm dumbing it down a bit, but so you have to come back. Okay, what is the business case of using machine learning or AI or even cloud, and is it the right technology for what I'm trying to do? So always ask. We have a colleague here that always asks me 5 times, why are we doing this? So I give an answer. She goes, why again, just to make sure our objective's clear. So
it's a good stress test.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I think there's the biggest challenge right now is that I see a culture shift coming with next generation, like millennials, of how we develop application, how we manage IT. So the two great solids in operations. I love the DevOps movement where we work together in providing stable service and producing new features. So I think there's great things, but it has a lot to do with procurement technology.
Yeah. Is there anything that keeps you up? You mentioned culture maybe being a big change that's coming.
A couple of things. If a client's not happy, that keeps me up at night. I also is hiring people is tough. Hiring people that fit your culture is tougher. So we're evaluating building delivery centers in different regions, and how do I make sure that I do that, implement a culture with adapting to the local community, and how do I make sure my capacity internally will follow my top line growth ambition? So that's...
Yeah, no, it's a good challenge. One more question about, you mentioned your strategic imperatives. You also mentioned how you take 15 meetings a week to talk to the market. Is there anything else you do to stay current, to stay on what's happening, just because of the speed of change seems to be accelerating? Yeah. So for a CEO, it's like, man, there's so much I need to stay on top of. How do you filter out the noise versus the signal?
It's tough, but I'm part of an organization that's called YPO, where I love, I have foreign mates that I can bounce ideas with, but there's also, industry chapters, like technology, so I can bounce with other IT CEOs. And how do you perceive this? How do you handle this in the Dallas market? How do you handle this in Florida market? And so by peer-to-peer learning, I think we can learn a lot, and by learning from other CEOs in other industries how they attack HR challenges, finance challenges, legal, exporting challenges. So I use peer-to-peer learning, and I love to also read. Moreover, I'm involved in the École d'Entrepreneurship de Beauce, which is another form of peer-to-peer learning. So I think by learning from others, scars in their backs, is a great way to...
Yeah, I like how it comes back again to people, right? So focusing on people. David, it's been great, man. I want to thank you for your time. Maybe one last question is, where can people find out more about what you guys are doing?
Yeah, I think fxinnovation.com, we're looking for great colleagues. And if you read the culture book and you think that it fits your values and what you're looking for, we'd love to meet you. And thanks for doing this. It's been awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the Point of No Return podcast. Never miss an episode by clicking on the subscribe button on iTunes or Google Play.